Are we live? Hello? It's only 11:09. You know, we like to be fashionably late for our third episode here. We thank you guys for sticking around. We're so excited you're here. We're so excited to talk to you. I'm Jen Rubins, and we brought the coffee. I have iced coffee this time. Confession. I don't know if that's what threw today off, but does everyone have their coffee? My lovely panelists?
Yeah,
Awesome.
I do.
So follow along at PRH Morning Buzz. We're bringing lots of fun books. We have a new game. So it'll be well worth the wait of you guys tuning in. So just a reminder, oh wait, let's go back to the previous slide really quickly. I wanted to just point out, I can see through my heart-shaped sunglasses. We just needed to start with some joy today, right? Our format key is at the bottom of that slide. Hopefully you can see it, but I'm going to read it out loud just in case. HC is for hardcover, ebook is for electronic book, AD is for audio download, CD is for compact disc, LP is for large print, and TR is for trade paperback. So as promised, at the end of our webinar, when you get your follow-up email, we will share ISBNs and, oh, I was told they can't see my video. My gosh. I was wearing heart sunglasses for no reason, guys. Thank you to Mary, who just told me that. Hi, Mary.
We are working on the video.
Yeah, we're just.
I think it keeps turning us off, but.
I mean, thank you. We're back.
Now thanks, Mary.
I can see clearly now. Okay.
Mary says you look better, Jen. So.
Oh, thank you. So those are our format keys. PRH Morning Buzz is our hashtag. Follow along, chime in, tell us what's going on in your world this morning and what books you're excited about. And now we will introduce our lovely panelists. I'm Jen Rubin, and on our next slide, you could see everybody who's with us today.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Fabian.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Childs.
And hi, I'm Kelly Coyle-Crivelli. How are you today?
Hi.
We are not sure. We're having a little bit of technical, well, let you know, we're having a little bit of technical issues today. So if our video goes in and out, we apologize. But our words will all still be the same. Even if you cannot see our faces, we'll be fine.
And I also will just say, I think we all need to do a quick round of applause for Kelly, who had been having a heart attack for the last half hour trying to get this together, and she's done it.
Yay.
You get the rest of the day off, Kelly, the rest of the day off.
No, we do a lot of things in person, but we are not great at technology, so we're doing our best, but we think we'll be okay. And if you can't see some of us, we do apologize.
I mean, we like to keep it exciting.
I think
who knew our game show this week was actually a game of Survivor. So if you guys stuck with us, you won, and you made it to the next round. So Library go. Survivor. Okay, so, oh my gosh, already? We've already been so stressed out. We can't take any more pop quizzes, but I planned this before I knew what a tough morning it would be. Okay, guys. I'm going to ask one question to everybody today because we have another game coming later in the show. So the pop quiz question for today is, if you could have dinner with any author, living or dead, who would it be? And Elizabeth, I'm going to start with you because I could tell you're thinking really hard about this.
Okay. That's a hard question. You know who I might go with? I might have dinner with the poet Billy Collins. We met him at an ALA years ago, and he was so amazingly charming. And we got into a taxi together to go to the event, and the taxi driver was one of those taxi drivers with so much personality and told a joke. And then Billy Collins started to talk to him, and he told an even better joke. So he just is this warm, wonderful, charismatic, wonderful guy. So I think I'd have dinner with him.
Nice. I like that choice. I feel like that's a bit surprising. I didn't even think of poets. Of course. I think
it is Poetry Month.
It is.
I didn't plan that. I swear.
Elizabeth, come on.
Marketing. I swear I did not.
All right, Jen Childs, or Jennifer Childs, as you introduced yourself.
Yes. Well, that's what it said on the screen. So.
It's true.
I think with all the adrenaline rushing through my system, I don't know that I can think through this fully, and I might have a different answer a different day. But I just had a flashback to an actual dinner that I did have with an author that was thoroughly enjoyable, and he's super cute. I would have to say Pierce Brown, who is one of my favorites. And I know there are some librarians out there who were at that dinner with me and probably vouch for that. But Pierce Brown, author of Red Rising, adorable guy, really sweet.
Sure.
And you know, we could use a little eye candy these days, I think.
At the dinner, he is wonderful.
He is.
Can you imagine if he's watching right now?
Pierce, if you're watching, dinner at my place.
After the quarantine.
Of course.
Obviously. And
Zoom
Kelly,
dinner.
last
What
but
about
not
a Zoom
least,
dinner?
who would you have dinner with?
I am a little boring because I have thought about this for a long time, and I've always thought it would be fun. Of course, I'm going to say Jane Austen. There's a lot of questions I really want to ask her. I have a whole list. I don't know if she would want to have dinner with me because I have so many questions I would like to ask her, but
I think she'd
my
like
answer. I think I might drive her crazy after a while.
Kelly is known as our author stalker in our group, so
I know.
it's true.
I know. It's still fun because I can't stalk her because she's not around, but I would if I could, trust me.
And how about you, Jen Rubens? Who would you have dinner with?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I was thinking it could be fun, but a little scary to have dinner with Dorothy Parker because I feel like she might like make fun of me or have
She would be
some
fun.
smart quips that, she'd probably tease me for my, corniness. But I also would love to hear what she would say about everybody else, and it would be a very entertaining, clever meal, I think.
Yeah.
I did. Speaking of authors, the scariest author dinner I ever had was with Ruth Reichel, because I am by no means a foodie, and I was so nervous to order. This was at, I think, a PLA in Denver years ago, and I was like, oh my God, she's gonna know that I'm like not a sophisticated like foodie person. Luckily, I didn't have to choose a restaurant or anything, but that was probably the dinner that made me the most nervous in real life.
Wow.
But it was all okay. I faked it. I'm a total. Okay, so on to some resources.
We just wanted to have a quick reminder. I know we've gone over this in previous episodes, but a reminder that we have a lot of digital resources for you to share with your patrons. We know you're looking for new ways to reach readers. There are lots of ways, including our temporary open access license for online story time. We've got tons of book club kits and resources, reviewer access to Volumes, our audio review app. So if you follow the tiny URL on the screen, or again, we're going to send all these slides at the end of the episode, so you don't have to worry too much about taking notes. You'll find a blog that lists all of our digital options for you, and it'll be an easy way for you to kind of keep track of everything. And also, we touched on it. Of course, it's National Poetry Month. CNAF has, for more than 20 years, celebrated Poetry Month by sending out a free poem a day. If you're signed up, great. I know the month's half over, but it's never too late to start the morning with a poem. And I have to say, it's been really enjoyable to open my inbox every morning and just get a poem to start me thinking that day. So please do sign up, even though you've got a couple weeks still to get your poems, and it's really a lovely addition to your inbox. Some good news in your inbox.
And speaking of listeners' advisory, I see some people are commenting on our audio, so hopefully we'll all remember to speak up nice and loud, and hopefully you can hear us a little better now. I know I'm going to project to all the people who aren't in the room right now. But anyway, listeners' advisory, I wanted to mention, I've mentioned it before, but this is the author is our PRH audio podcast, and we interview tons of amazing authors, and it's a great way to get more insider info on the books and the audiobooks while they're in the studio, often recording the entire production or sometimes just an author's note. But next week, in honor of all of you, our beloved librarians, we are doing 2 special episodes of This is the Author, where we've interviewed some amazing authors on why they love libraries. can't imagine what they have to say, all beautiful things. But we can't wait to tune in to hear from people like Glennon Doyle, Terry McMillan, Janice Kaplan, who thinks you're all magicians. So tune in next week, subscribe, even subscribe today if you haven't yet. And then when the episodes go live next week for Library Week, they will be already in your queue and you can listen. And they're very short, easy to digest episodes. It should be a lot of fun. And then this is something that I wanted to point out. Magic Treehouse, which I'm sure hopefully you're all familiar with this incredible series, but with a lot of families at home right now and looking for more ways to engage their kids, this is a wonderful resource, both the audiobooks and the books, and then these printable activities, which have now been made more widely available. So we just wanted to make sure you knew about them. If you go to booksontaped.com/magictreehouse, you can find both clips from all of the audiobooks read by the author. She's incredible. I mean, how many authors have read like over 70 audiobooks? I don't know if there's anyone else who's done this. And also we have activity booklets. We have a great interview with Mary Pope Osborne. So we hope you'll go check it out and have some more to offer all of your families who are looking for more ways to have fun at home.
I have downloaded these yesterday for all of my kids who are big, big fans, and I would highly recommend it personally.
Oh, that's so great.
Oh, sorry.
And just a note, Penguin Random House is really focusing on getting our authors out and about, even though their tours have been canceled. You can see here the list of virtual author events happening this week, including some big names like Josh Mallerman, Ta-Nehisi Coates, Ariel Lahan. So please do share with your patrons. These are online and open to all on various social media platforms, whether it's Zoom or Instagram, all sorts of options. So please do share and tune in to the ones that you're interested for. You can also always find our upcoming lists at the Books Connect Us Live URL that's at the bottom of the slide.
And now on to the books. I'm ready for some romance.
Yes, I know. After the technical problems I've had this morning, I want to talk about romance books. And if you've missed your local museums or the museums in the city, you have my kids' artwork behind you, which will be the best stand-in that I can think of. So.
Oh, it's beautiful.
So here we go. Let's talk about some romance books. We know this is a great time to escape into a great read. And we know some people are really looking to read something, you know, some people are reading into the pandemic and some people are escaping. And we think these are some great escape reads for you. Here first up, we would just love to talk about Jasmine Guillory and Party of Two. We know that she might be on your holds list, so we offered you some other books in case there's a holds list for her new book. But Party of Two is so fun. It's about a chance meeting with a handsome stranger that turns into a whirlwind affair that gets everyone talking. Dating is the last thing on Olivia Munro's mind when she moves to LA to start her own law firm. But when she meets a gorgeous man at a hotel bar and they spend the entire evening flirting, she discovers too late that he is none other than the hotshot junior Senator Max Powell. Olivia has zero interest in dating a politician, but when a cake arrives at her office with the cutest message, she can't resist. It is chocolate cake after all. So this is a fun book where their romance gets a little stressful, but will their relationship be able to stand the pressures of the media? And I just binge watched 4 Weddings and a Funeral on Hulu, and this reminds me of that. So I think
that's such a good reminder.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I loved it. Destination Wedding. None of us can go anywhere, so why not pick a great book to go somewhere? Let's go to India. When Tina Das finds herself at a crossroads, both professionally and personally, she wonders if a week-long trip to Delhi for her cousin's lavish wedding might be just the right kind of escape. Maybe a little time away from New York will help get her mind straight about her stalled career, her recent breakup, and her nagging suspicion that she'll never feel as at home in America as she does in India. Tina hopes this destination wedding taking place at Delhi's poshest country club will be the perfect way to relax and unwind. And of course she gets there and there's family drama everywhere. So she is wondering that even though the accommodations are swank and the alcohol is top shelf, her family is still there, and the drama might be more than she can bear, and she's forced to make decisions she's been putting off forever. Ghosting, a love story, which I will let you know that when we do these book buzzes, we learn a lot. I think maybe about a year and a half ago, I did learn what ghosting meant, so that was exciting for me.
Well, I'm just glad you learned it that way, not the way that a lot of us learn it.
Although I think my kids ghost me. I don't know if that's the same thing.
I haven't thought of that.
Yeah, they
not
will,
yet, anyway.
You like to still, he's young. This is a fun book. This is a charming Siriano retelling. Ghosting will steal your heart, but unlike any dating app suitor, it will stick around after a while. So what happens is two online dating experts who write profiles for other people inadvertently end up falling in love with each other. But some of the basic rules of online dating, if you didn't know, was number one, online dating ghostwriting rules to live by. Number one, do not present a perfect image. No one will trust it, nor should they. This rule I loved. Think of your quirks, such as cosplaying B movies from the 1980s, as future honesty. Save these as a reward only for those who prove worthy. And of course, never remind the client that you're their Siriano. Once you've attracted a good match, let the client take over ASAP. So Miles and Zoe, as they're in the middle of writing perfect profiles for other people, end up falling in love with each other, and it's very fun. It's a very funny book. I really highly recommend it. I'm going to talk about The Sight of You first. This one is a little bit deeper and a little bit more depressing. This I love. Jodi Picoult says, unique and heartbreaking and painful and broken and perfect, just like love. I'm still crying, yet all I want to do is settle down and read it again. And I love this quote from Jodi Picoult because I love that a book made her cry, because I feel like all she ever does is make everybody else cry. So I love that something made her cry.
Karma.
Yeah, exactly. So The Sight of You is the light we lost meets How to Walk Away. And it's a romantic, page-turning debut that poses the heartbreaking question, would you choose love if you knew how it would end? And it follows the relationship of Joel, who has sworn off loving, but when he meets Callie, he can't help but being drawn to her, even though he has this power where he dreams and he knows what's going to happen in someone's life. So even though he knows he's going to lose her, they have to decide whether or not it's worth it to take a chance on love. So it's heartbreaking and beautiful. I know. And The Mister, I'm sure most of you know what that book is. It was the #1 bestseller from E.L. James.
Take my glasses off for this one.
The author
They're getting steamed up.
Wrote the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy. And normally, I have to be honest, they wouldn't let me talk about a book in this genre because they know what a prude I am. But I just wanted to point out that there is a Spanish language edition available. And so we want your patrons to know that it's available. Of course, obviously still in English, but the Spanish version is available for your patrons. So that's it for romance.
Oh, wait, it's not it. I just want to say one more thing. It just occurred to me. But Jasmine Guillory, some of you may have met her at PLA. She spoke at the audiobook dinner, so I have to mention her fabulous audiobooks. They're all read by Janina Edwards, who also reads Party of Two. So she's gotten amazing reviews. She's won 2 audiophile earphones awards for The Wedding Date and Royal Holiday, and she's been reviewed as having a cute yet cheeky performance. So it's a lot of fun to listen to, and I highly recommend reminding patrons at the Holds Are High for the e-galley to check out the audio too. And we also have The Mister in Spanish in audio as well, so you can have someone read it to you on Espanol, which I feel like might be fun. And then you could see the other ones that are in audio that say AD for audio download on the screen.
Great.
So we'll shift gears a little bit to women making their own happy endings. I love this slide. It's about stories of grit and determination and resilience, and I'm really excited to talk about these books with you. I'll start first with The Growing Season. Sarah Frey was the youngest of her parents' combined 21 children and grew up on their farm in Illinois, and she sometimes had to cook or hunt or grow her own dinner. And at 15, she moved out. She decided she was going to start her own delivery company for fresh produce, and all she had was a pickup truck. 2 years later, her family's farm undergoes foreclosure, and she decides to take it over and create her own produce company. She talked her way into suit-filled boardrooms and convinced the nation's largest retailers to take her products. And her early negotiation skills became so renowned and legendary that the Harvard Business School actually made cases and made case studies out of her negotiation skills that people still study today. So that's kind of incredible.
Wow.
Her family operated farm is one of America's largest fresh produce growers and shippers. And this is really her story about her scrappy rural childhood gave her the grit and resiliency to take this on and take risks that paid off in such unexpected ways. So a really great read. Next is Hold On, But Don't Hold Still. And this is for those of you like me who need the reminder that it's not just okay to accept, but it's okay to actually love that life is unpredictable and chaotic and imperfect, which describes my life incredibly well. So Christina Kuzmic has faced a lot. She immigrated to the United States from Croatia during the war in her homeland. She's faced divorce, single parenting, poverty, and depression. And she wanted to reach out to those in the world who were facing their darkest hour like she had. And she's made herself a household name. She speaks directly to moms from the trenches of parenthood through her viral videos and her social media presence. And now she's bringing all of her messages to this book to readers. Self-acceptance, resilience, joy. And it's really like a long coffee date with your best friend or a text message that you get at 11 o'clock at night that just like gives you the extra strength to go on, like get through the night. So that's great too. For fans of Lab Girl and Girl Boss and Lean In is the next memoir about overcoming self-doubt and embracing ambition, and this is Girl Decoded. Rana El-Khalayoubi is a rarity in both the tech world and her native Middle East. She is a Muslim woman in charge of a field that's still overwhelmingly white and male. This captivating memoir chronicles El-Khalayoubi's journey from a, quote, nice Egyptian girl to a PhD at Cambridge to moving to America to pursue her mission to humanize technology before she says it dehumanizes us. She's concerned about the fact that when we interact with our screens and our phones, the only way to express emotion is through like an emoji with a tear or a smile, and she thinks that's completely absurd. So she's pioneering a new field of emotional artificial intelligence, which is incredible. And if you haven't checked out her TED Talk, I highly recommend it. Next is Recollections of My Non-Existence. Rebecca Solnit has become immensely popular with her journalism in Harper's and The Guardian, and her recent essay collection, Men Explain Things to Me. And here she describes her formation as a writer and a feminist in 1980s San Francisco, and provides an electric portrait of the artist as a young woman that fundamentally asks, how can a writer find her voice in a society that prefers women to be silent? And certainly last but not least is Stray from Stephanie Danler, the best-selling author of Sweet Bitter. This memoir is written with the same beauty and strength as her debut novel was. And it's about a family shattered by lies and addiction, and of one woman's attempt to find a life beyond the limits of her past. It's moving and devastating, but it's ultimately an exploration of landscape damage and survival.
And just to tack on here, I'm thrilled that Sarah Frey's just been confirmed that she will be reading the audiobook of The Growing Seasons. So we'll get to hear from her directly, telling her story. That I remember when that title was first presented, and I was just so blown away by her story. I'd never heard of her before, and I'm really excited to learn more from her herself. Hold On But Don't Hold Still is also read by the author. That's already available, of course. I just caught there's no AD on the slide, but it is an audio. She did read it, and she did an episode of This Is the Author that released back in February, and she talked about how she loves to listen to audiobooks while she cooks risotto specifically. She said she hates waiting for risotto to cook, and she needs an audiobook to get through it. So we're there to help her. Girl Decoded is also author read, as is Rebecca Solnit's audiobook, and her episode of This Is the Author was released in March, just last month. So it's really fascinating to hear her talk a little bit more about the background of her work and what it meant to her to read her own work. And then this is really interesting. Stephanie Danler's memoir Stray is not read by the author, but it's read by a very talented audiobook narrator named Alex McKenna, who reads a lot of audiobooks, but happens to be best friends with Stephanie in real life and actually appears in the book, I believe, as like not a character, but she's in the book somewhere. I'm not sure exactly the context. So they have an incredibly, obviously, close relationship, and it's really fascinating to hear them talk about the relationship between author and actress who have a personal connection, bringing this to audio. So that's a really wonderful listen as well. And Alex McKenna also read Sweet Bitter, unsurprisingly. So, yeah.
Elizabeth, did you say 21 kids for the growing season?
21 kids. 21.
We keep getting comments about that. So think about how bad your quarantine is.
I know.
And then think about 21 kids.
I know.
Wow.
All right.
Okay, before we go into literary fiction, I just want to do a quick plug because I'm afraid if I wait till the end, I'll forget. You will find at the end of our webinar a survey, and I think we've strived to really kind of balance our front list, back lists, formats, etc. But we definitely want to hear from you. So please do, be sure to let us know how we're doing with picking our titles. If there are things that we're not telling you about that you want to hear about. We're trying to adapt to help you, so please do let us know. So to talk about literary fiction, I know many of you are fans of J. Courtney Sullivan. She's the best-selling author of Maine and Saints for All Occasions. Her new book, Friends and Strangers, is an insightful and hilarious novel about a complicated friendship between two women, Elizabeth, a new mom, and Sam, her college-age babysitter, who are at two very different stages in life. A Kirkus starred review says, Sullivan writes with empathy for her characters even as she reveals their flaws and shortcomings. And while the story she tells focuses primarily on two women from different backgrounds and at different stages of life, it also illuminates broader issues about money, privilege, and class, marriage, family, and friendship, as well as the dueling demands of career and domesticity with which many women struggle. This perceptive novel about a complex friendship between two women resonates as broadly as it does deeply. You'll see the e-galleys up, so we hope that you will go ahead and request that. And then some additional literary picks for you and your patrons. We have The Party Upstairs. This is a debut novel. It unfolds in the course of a single day inside one genteel New York City apartment building as tensions between the building's super and his grown-up daughter spark a crisis that will end, by day's end, change everything. Perfect for readers of books like Fleischman is in Trouble, Normal People, and The Idiot. And then we've had a ton of excitement about Curtis Sittenfeld. If you haven't read Curtis Sittenfeld before, please do pick up one of her books. She's the best-selling author of American Wife and Eligible. Now she comes to us with Rodham. This is a novel that imagines a deeply compelling story of what might have been. What if Hillary Rodham hadn't married Bill Clinton? Brilliantly weaving a fictional tale into actual historical events, Sittenfeld delivers an uncannily astute and witty story for our time, in exploring the loneliness, moral ambivalence, and iron determination that characterizes the quest for political power, as well as both the exhilaration and painful compromises demanded of female ambition in a world that's still run mostly by men. The e-galley is up for this as well. This was definitely one of the books at PLA that people were most excited about, I think. So please do request and dip in. Now I'm going to move over to the left to talk about the newest novel from best-selling novelist Emily Giffin, The Lies That Bind. I feel like we have a lot of New York stories, which I feel like is fitting. New York, can use a little love right now. This is the story of Cecily. She's a young wannabe reporter, and she falls hard for Grant in a bar in the Lower East Village in early September 2001. Then he disappears in the chaos of 9/11. Of course, she fears the worst, and then Cecily spots his face on a missing person poster, and she realizes she's not the only one searching for him. Her investigative reporting instincts kick into action, and she vows to discover the truth. But is it possible to love a man who wasn't who he seemed to be? This is a mesmerizing and emotionally resonant exploration of the never-ending search for love and truth. And then something a little different, Pizza Girl. This is in the tradition of Riley funny novels like The Idiot and Convenience Store Woman. Pizza Girl is the wildly original coming-of-age story of a pregnant pizza delivery girl who becomes obsessed with one of her customers. Publishers Weekly Star Review says that Pizza Girl is a playful and unflinching debut. This infectious evocation of a young woman's slackdom will appeal to fans of Halle Butler and Atessa Mashfe. Did I say that right? I meant to ask you guys before. And will make it difficult not to root for the troubled and spirited Pizza Girl. This is also up on eGalley, and I hope we've given you some great literary fiction to read.
And just to add for audio, we do have audios of all of those that will be available. Friends and Strangers is going to be read by Kate Rudd, who you may know from her readings of John Green's novels. So she won an Odyssey Award for oh my gosh, the stars. Oh my gosh, the title.
The Fault in Our Stars.
The Fault in Our Stars. Thank you. I just had a panicked moment in front of all these people. Yes, she read that, and also Turtles All the Way Down. That was like on the tip of my tongue, but I knew that was not the first one I was going to mention. I like to, not write everything down, clearly. Keep it keep it lively. And we're thrilled to know we just found out Emily Giffen's book. This will be really interesting. The Lies That Bind will have Brittany Presley reading the main narration. I did write this down. But Vikas Adams will read some of the emails from one male perspective, and Will Dameron will read some other male emails. So it'll be a nice, really, multi-perspective listen, which I always think is a lot of fun, especially in books like this, with a lot of unknowns and a lot of mystery behind different characters. So listen up for that.
And someone asked, Giffen's book is coming in June.
And I'll just add, if you love J. Courtney Sullivan, this one does not disappoint. I love her.
I do too. The Engagements was one of my favorites.
I know.
Kelly stalked J. Courtney Sullivan also.
I did. If you must know.
I have a list.
I do. She's on the top.
So now we're going to venture into the realm of magic and a little bit of the supernatural. So Mexican Gothic is the new novel from the author of Gods of Jade and Shadow, and it's a reimagining of a classic Gothic suspense novel set in an isolated mansion in 1950s Mexico. After receiving a frantic letter from her newlywed cousin begging her to save her from unknown doom, Naomi Tayaba heads to the High Place, a distant house in the Mexican countryside. She's a glamorous debutante, and she's really more suited for cocktail parties than amateur sleuthing, but she is tough and she's smart and she's not afraid of anything. She's not afraid of her cousin's new husband or his father or the house that starts giving her nightmares with visions of blood and doom, but soon she may find that it is impossible to ever leave this enigmatic house behind. So if you're looking for something with similar elements of horror and the supernatural combined together with reality, is a new book called Death in Her Hands, a novel of haunting metaphysical suspense. So our main character is on her daily walk with her dog in a secluded wood, and she comes across a handwritten, carefully pinned note to a bunch of stones that reads, "Her name was Magda. Nobody will ever know who killed her. It wasn't me. Here is her dead body." But there is no dead body. And our narrator becomes obsessed with solving the mystery and invents a list of murder suspects and possible motives for the crime. Oddly, her suppositions begin to find correspondences in the real world, and the fog of mystery starts to fade into menacing certainty. For those interested in the strange of magical realism throughout Mexican Gothic, there's our next book, which is The Perfect World of Miwako Sumida, a Murakami-esque tale of friendship and grief and sexuality. University sophomore Miwako Sumida has hanged herself, leaving those closest to her reeling, and they will soon discover that she was not the straightforward, untouchable person that she presented to the world. In a world of social exile and public diary entries and ghosts among the living, author Clarissa Gonawa gradually reveals the dark truth behind the young girl's suicide. And available in both English and Spanish language editions is Taina, a uniquely dark coming-of-age novel ripe with magical realism, music, sorcery, and redemption from the author of Bodega Dreams. When Julio, a young Puerto Rican Ecuadorian boy in Spanish Harlem, hears that Taina, a 15-year-old girl from his church, is pregnant and that she insists she's a virgin, he decides to believe her. But the lengths he will go to defend her purity will thrust him into the girl's murky past and uncover secrets within his own family. And finally, for readers looking for a little bit of the lighter side of magic, is Vanessa Yu's Magical Tea Shop, the newest novel from the critically acclaimed author of Natalie Tan's Book of Love, Luck, and Fortune. So ever since she can remember, Vanessa has been able to see people's fortunes at the bottom of their teacups. And to avoid blurting them out, she switched to coffee. But they still somehow escape and complicate her life. So, but when she decides to say au revoir to California and bonjour to Paris, will she finally learn that knowing one's destiny isn't really a curse at all?
That sounds so delightful. And just to add, I think it goes without saying probably that I think anything that falls under the category of magical realism can make for a really beautiful audiobook listen and just as a total escape and a lot of fun to dive into. So look for the audios too.
We thought we would give Elizabeth all of the hard words on one. Good job, Elizabeth.
Well, that's what the audiobook does. It'll teach you how to say them, but when they come out.
And the last slide of books, we wanted to, we know that everyone is home, and we know that people are very into Instagram. A lot of people are into Instagramming what their dinners look like. I am not. I have 3 teenage sons, so I just make a big bowl of whatever, and it's not pretty. It's not Instagrammable, as they say. But we do know that people are cooking a lot together. So we wanted to give you a list of cookbooks that are fun to have the entire family participate in. The first one is the Big Fun Kids Cookbook. This is a book from America's #1 food magazine. It has 150 plus fun, easy recipes that give young food lovers everything they need to succeed in the kitchen. This one's really fun. It has great pictures, color recipes, photos throughout, choose your own adventure recipes. So really, really focused on having younger kids really have fun in the kitchen. My first cookbook is skewed a little bit younger for ages 5 to 8. This is from the best-selling author of The Complete Cookbook for Young Chefs. This is an America's Test Kitchen book, so you know that all of their recipes are first tested, and these recipes were actually tested by kids from 5 to 8 years old and have proved to be kid-tested and kid-approved, and apparently they can't mess them up. Everything from Thanksgiving biscuits to Chinese New Year pork dumplings. Yum, right? How can you go wrong?
I could probably mess them up.
Yeah, me too. These are actually, I say these are for kids, but these are actually the only cookbooks that I feel comfortable using. So this is what I use. Master Chef Junior, which I do think is a little over my skill level. Master Chef Junior Bakes. This is 100 playful baking recipes with step-by-step photographs as well to enchant bakers from ages 8 to 100. Living Bread. Now, this one I think is dangerous to have while you're not allowed to really go anywhere and exercise. But this is the major new cookbook by the pioneer from Bread Alone, who revolutionized America artisan bread baking with 60 recipes inspired from bakers around the world. This is at age 22, Daniel Leader stumbled across the intoxicating perfume of bread baking in the back room of a Parisian bakery. And he has loved and devoted himself to making quality bread ever since. And this is from the baker that has the Bread Alone headquarters, which is in the Catskills. And you can learn Dan's signature techniques and baking philosophy. And last up is Martha Stewart's Cookie Perfection, which I know needs no introduction. I will just let you know that take all of your favorite recipes and pick them up a notch, and they're better than ever. And I will tell you that last night when I was doing my notes for this, I had been putting off having a cookie or baking cookies the entire day. And when I was done with my notes, I ended up making chocolate chip cookies because I couldn't stop looking at that cookie on the cover.
It looks amazing.
Probably the ones I ate weren't as good, but it was good enough.
This morning, Sydney, who is the one who's answering everyone's questions, was telling me how she made some healthy cookies out of chickpea. I'm not so sure what to think about that. She said they were very good.
Well, while we were doing this webinar, I'm so talented. I actually just made these guys. Can you see? I just whipped them up. You know, they fall apart. They're like so moist. They just come right apart. So sorry, Kelly, but I think I'm actually ready for that other Master Chef book. So while I was baking those cupcakes, partly during this webinar and then partly earlier, I was listening to audiobooks, obviously. You could see one of the kitchens in my house is not up to health code. There are no pants, but he has the proper head attire, you know, at least, and an apron. That's my son. So we've been loving things like Dragons Love Tacos, no spicy salsa, even though I love spicy salsa. But these are so much fun to listen to with really little kids in the kitchen, my son's two. I think partly when they've already listened to you read the books and they recognize the story already, playing the audiobook is suddenly just them revisiting a story that they know, and they get really excited when they listen along. I think it really captures their attention even when they're really little, because I know it's tough to get a really little kid to listen to anything, especially their parents. But I think these work really well. Jimmy Kimmel reads his own audiobook. The Stinky Cheese Man is a classic, and The Tiny Chef is not available yet, but if you guys are familiar with that really cute YouTube series, that's going to be coming on audio and will be a lot of fun to listen to. And then for the rest of my Listen While You Cook picks, I wanted to tie into some of the other wonderful categories that showed up throughout this webinar, but perhaps giving you some kids and teen choices. So newly available is Lois Lowry's On the Horizon. Of course, she's the two-time Newbery Medal winner, and she reads her own audiobook. This is, in a starter review, Booklist calls it a must for all collections. These are World War II poems that overlap with her own history and childhood experiences. And Audiophile says that her well-paced and gentle narration guides listeners through tragedy and hope. I think this could be a really interesting listen with kids to bring up some important conversation and really discuss both poetry for Poetry Month and also a little bit of history, both someone's personal history and World War II. So I highly recommend that one. Available in audio from Listening Library. And then you might see Arusha on the slide there. That's part of Rick Riordan Presents. It's really incredible what Rick Riordan is doing right now, and we're so thrilled to have the audiobooks available from Listening Library. Rick has said that over the years, he's gotten many questions from fans about whether he might write about various world mythologies. And in most cases, he knew he wasn't the best person to write those books. So he's using his experience and his platform with Disney to put the spotlight on other great writers who can write from their own cultures and perspectives and know the mythologies from how they were presented in their own childhood and growing up with their families. So he's collected amazing authors to write incredible mythologies. They've been doing so well. Sal and Gabby Break the Universe, and Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky were Booklist Editor's Choice Youth Audiobook picks last year. Sal and Gabby won a Pura Belpre Award. And then Arusha is a wonderful way, I think, to get kids hooked on something that if they love it, they can get more and more, because it's the third in the series. So there are 3 available now, and they can dive into the Hindu mythology that Roshani Shokshi writes about. And then also in mythical realism, the Unicorn Rescue Society is another wonderful series for middle grade that explores a lot of different cultures, and the audio especially really allows you to hear the different pronunciations and languages. And Adam Gidwitz always pairs up with someone who, similar to what Rick Riordan explained in his reasoning for Rick Riordan Presents, Adam Gidwitz always pairs up with a co-writer who can really bring additional perspective and knowledge and you know, like almost like an educational insight into the different cultures that he's writing about. So that's really a wonderful audiobook collection. And any of these, I mean, if you guys haven't listened to Jim Gaffigan's Food, I've never laughed so hard at my cubicle at work before. It was embarrassing. It was like, people were like, what are you doing? And I was listening to that. And then Notes from a Young Black Chef, just to point out, was both a Russo Listen List pick and a YALSA Amazing Audiobook for young adults. So really has really wide appeal, is one of the newer audiobooks in that list that I chose, and highly recommend. So I know that was a lot, but there's just, you could listen to anything while you cook, and I had trouble choosing. So these are some of my picks. And now, wait, oh my gosh. All right, here we go.
We have a game for everybody.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
A little off cue, but. All right, we asked you guys last week to tell us what your favorite books were set in a library or a bookstore. And today we have 3 families coming to play the feud. The Childs family, the Fabian family, and the Coyle Crivelli family. And of course, all of you can play at home. We're going to reveal the top choices. We surveyed many librarians. This is so official that we don't even have a number. There were just so many. That's how they do it in the show, right? We revealed an undisclosed number of librarians to find out what your favorite books are that are set in a bookstore or a library. So all of you can guess what your top choice will be. I think we can go to the next slide. It won't reveal anything just yet, but the board is set. We're going to find out what the survey says, but each one of you have to tell me, what do you think the number 1 book is? What do you think the most people said was their favorite book set in a bookstore or a library? And don't go to the next slide yet.
I'm going to pick mine.
I put which one my favorite was instead.
I know, I did too.
Did you hear that?
Mine was the Little Point Bookshop. The Little Paris Bookshop.
Okay, and Elizabeth, what's your guess?
Well, my favorite is a children's book, The Library Lion, but I'm going to guess The Invisible Library.
Oh,
That's a good
you might
guess.
be right.
Next slide.
Did I get buzzed?
So this is how much confidence I had in you guys. I put in the X ahead of time, just assuming you weren't going to catch it. But anyway.
All right, you ready?
All right, we're ready. So the number, the 5th one is the Library Lovers Mystery Series. I love this one. Let me get my cheat sheet here. This is a fun, cozy series, obviously by Jen McKinley. She's the New York Times bestselling author of the Cupcake Bakery Mystery Series. I didn't even plan that. And this is the library series where mysteries refuse to stay in the fiction section. So that's a lot of fun. And I love that it's a series, so there's so many available. If you dive in, I forget even how many there are now. I think there are at least 9. And the 4th most popular choice was the library book by Susan Arlene. A dazzling love letter to a beloved institution and an investigation into one of its greatest mysteries, from the best-selling author hailed as a national treasure by the Washington Post. Number 3.
Another good one.
I wonder if you guys at home got this. Publishers Weekly calls this a love letter to book nerds. Waxman introduces the extraordinary introvert Nina Hill with witty dialogue and a running sarcastic inner monologue. Waxman brings Nina to vibrant life as she upends her introverted routine and becomes part of the family for fans of Jojo Moyes. Number 2.
This makes me want to change my answer.
Nope. Not how the feud works, Kelly. Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan. This is a gleeful and exhilarating tale of global conspiracy, complex code breaking, high-tech data visualization, young love, rollicking adventure, and the secret to eternal life, set in a hole-in-the-wall San Francisco bookstore. And finally, the storied life of A.J. By Gabrielle Zevin. A.J. Fickery's life is not at all what he expected it to be. He lives alone. His bookstore is experiencing the worst sales in its history, and now his prized possession, a rare collection of Poe poems, has been stolen. But if you go to the next slide, as you may want to see, the beautiful covers. So these were your top 5 picks. But survey says you also love a million other books that are set in bookstores in libraries. Jen, your Starless Sea was on there.
Woo.
And
Nice.
did someone else say, oh no, you didn't say the Library of the Unwritten, did you, Kelly?
I said the Little Paris Bookshop.
Oh, which
Did
was
it
one of
make
my favorites. I can't believe that didn't make the list. But what was really incredible is that everyone had such different answers. I mean, all of you, I thought it was going to be like the same 5 books over and over. And I was so thrilled to see all of the amazing, different, unique picks that were on this list. So it was a
84
really...
Charing Cross Road. I love that book so much.
I know. So this is like really fun to dive into and see all of your amazing answers. And I was just, like I said, surprised there wasn't more overlap. All of you picked such different picks. So there's such a rich list on here. And I hope you have a lot of fun finding these on ebook and audio and revisiting them or finding them for the first time. And then I just had to add in personally, because these are mostly adult picks. But if you go to the next slide, I stuck in myself just a few for the kiddos that you might like. So I have been an Arthur fan forever. I've had this forever. Now my son has it. But I had to add Mark Brown's Arthur series. He has one called Locked in the Library. But this is read on audio by Mark Lynn Baker, who you might know from Perfect Strangers. And fun fact, Bronson Pinchot also narrates audiobooks for us. So you could just have a Perfect Strangers reunion by listening to audiobooks in your own house. But Locked in the Library could be a really fun one to share with kids, and it's available on audio. You'll notice if you go to booksontaped.com, there are bundles of Arthur books, so you can listen to like 3 stories at once. Okay for Now was an Odyssey honor years ago, and this one has stuck with me forever. It's just so beautiful, and the main character of the book discovers his love of art through his local library and through the drawings of Audubon, of the birds, and it's just a beautiful story, and it really, like I said, it stuck with me for all these years. I think it came out like 9 years ago or something. Words in Deep Blue, I've always loved. It's an Australian YA book about 2 teenagers, and one of them has a family bookstore. It's just beautiful. And then, of course, I'm sure I don't need to remind you of Escape from Mr. Limoncello's Library, but this has grown into such a delightful series. Chris Gravenstein is just incredible. He's a riot. He loves audiobooks, so we've gotten to know him quite well. And that's another great one to add to your list for the kiddos. So, we have a new question. Kelly, do you want to tell us about this?
Sure. So thank you so much to all of you for participating last week in our question. For next week, since we talked about it earlier, we want to know which author you would invite to dinner, living or dead. Obviously, they would be alive at your dinner. But let us know on Twitter. Sorry. We're losing it today.
Unless you're cooking kills them, Kelly. No, I'm just kidding.
And we're also like such nerds that none of us actually looked at what the top answers were for the Family Feud. So we're not
cheaters.
We do not cheat. We promise.
No. I slipped those slides in the dark of night last night. I went in.
That's why we didn't get it right. Yeah. But yeah, thank you. So participate on Twitter, and we'll see what your answer is next week.
Or in the survey, if for people not on Twitter, you can participate there as well.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for sticking with us today.
The future plans out
to our technical problems.
All right, next week, what game will we play? Thanks for joining us. Bye. Bye.